Okay, I think this might be good. Praying, hoping and praying. And are we live? Okay. Alright. It's the second time of trying. Hello everyone, welcome back to the stream. If this ends again, I am going to lose my absolute mind. Thank you, Ben, for joining back to the stream. So we've got our very first special guest on the show. A very important person in my football career and a very important person in a lot of other careers, as well as WA football in general. The lovely Miss Anne Gooley. Miss Gooley here has been involved in Goswell City Football Club for several years, the club that I play at and fortunately have a position to coach for. And she also recently won the 2023 Combank Coach of the Year award, very prestigious award in coaching in Australia. So yeah, thankfully we've got her on here. So I'm just going to ask her a few questions, and if you guys have any questions for Anne, feel free to comment them down below and she will answer the questions. So yeah, and thank you so much for joining us.
No worries at all. Pleasure to be here.
So how did you originally get involved with coaching? So you used to be involved with the Northern Irish women's national junior teams. So how did that sort of come about?
I just got involved through a youth club team many years ago. I just came back from Australia after a year travelling in Australia. Excuse me. And I went back home to do university, to do my studies. So local youth club, the girls there said, look, we would like to play some football. We never get the opportunity to play. There's a huge hall up the stairs. Boys are always in it. Can we have a go? And I got involved in youth work qualification. I got involved with the kids there. It was a part-time thing. So they said to me, can you look after this? So that's basically where it all started, back in a youth club called Newington Youth Club in North Belfast. In Northern Ireland, and those girls from then, we grew from a 5-6 woman team to now they are integrated with Cliftonville Football Club, which is an Irish League team, currently sitting I think 4th in the Irish League. The women have just finished their season with the Irish League Cup final last night, which unfortunately they lost to Glentoran, but they've won 3 cups this season. They won the league last year, they finished second in the league this year. So that has grown from that youth club team of 5 or 6 young girls to a huge involvement with the Irish League and winning the Irish League, winning the Irish Cup a few years back, and they've grown. And one of the girls there, Marissa Callahan, joined that youth club team. She's now captain of Northern Ireland and has been for several years. She went to America on a scholarship and she's still involved at Cliftonville. And she's helping run the team, and she captains the team over there as well. So that has all grown out of a youth club team many years ago. So very proud of them, and a lot of them are all still involved, either on a coaching capacity or playing capacity or both, or working for Northern Ireland. So I ended up working in the youth club, helping the girls get a team together, joining the Northern Ireland Ladies Football League, which I think was 6 divisions then. We were in the bottom division, the youngest team in there, because they were all kids. And this was a women's league, so there was no youth leagues back then. You're talking 1995, no youth leagues, no junior leagues, nothing like that. So we had to join the women's league, and these kids were all 12, 13, 14.
Yeah.
You know, playing, and there was me, a young youth leader, young at the time, about 24, in there, no experience coaching, had played a bit of street football, nothing much behind me. And went and did my qualifications and helped them grow, and we all sort of came through it together, so it was fun times. And then got involved in the Northern Ireland Women's Football Association on a committee level, was the secretary there for a while, and then got involved, obviously coaching, done my qualifications, and then they asked me, oh, can you take these Northern Ireland youth teams? We're starting these, they'd never had the youth teams before, and they were growing out of that, so that's where it all came from.
Incredible story, that.
Yeah.
So you said that you had played a bit of street football, so you never really had sort of an extensive playing career of any sort? Was coaching sort of ever in your mind at some point in your career, or did it sort of just come
No,
around?
it just happened. I never ever got the chance to play or be coached myself. So until later on when Newington Girls was formed, and then we've been into an 11-side team, we've been playing for a few years, and I actually then got another guy involved called Stevie Graham, who's quite, he's an excellent coach, and he's been involved in the Northern Ireland scene as well, and still is, and he came along and helped us back then, and then I was able to learn from him, and learned a lot from him as well as doing my qualifications. So it's on the job training you get when you're thrown in at the deep end. So yeah, that's where it all came from. So yeah, Stevie Graham, still a good friend, great coach, and he's still involved with the women's and girls game over in Northern Ireland at a great level.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I guess, how did you sort of come about doing your work for Football West? So obviously you moved over from Northern Ireland to Australia, and I remember you saying that you did extensive work for Football West at some point. How did that sort of come about? Were you sort of scouted by them to take up a position, or?
Yeah, well, what happened was we just immigrated just beginning of 2007, and my intention was to go and do my diploma in education, and I'd actually spoken to UWA and was about to step into that role and do a year's the diploma and then go teaching. But a job came up in sports development. I'd done my degree back in Northern Ireland. I'd worked as a sports development manager for about 6 or 7 years, running a community sports development unit, and I'd done a lot of work in sports development over there with all different sports, GAA, football, hockey, disabled sports, youth work and things like that. So this job, somebody sent me the advert, the job came up for Football Australia. Football Australia had advertised a role here for a regional manager for development. So I applied for it, went for interviews, and got the job, and was based as a Football Australia employee, but at Football West offices over in Gimli at the time, Gimli Reserve. So yeah, that's how that came about, and I was the regional manager here for 4 or 5 years, going out into the regions, helping set up small set of games as it is now. So back then, the kids were still playing, I think, 11-a-side at under 6s.
Oh, yeah.
So
no,
yeah,
I know what you mean.
so then the whole transformation came to the mini roos stuff that it is these days. It was back then, it was called small set of games. So we did a pilot with 4 clubs. We had Gosnells, I think it was Sutherland's, Limwood and Canning City.
Oh, okay.
And we did a little pilot down there where we got all the kids in, we trained them all up, we trained the clubs up, people came down and had a look at it, and then we went around the regions, around Perth Metropolitan area, and set all that up. So that was a big part of it back then, helping write the rules and things like that. So I was the West Australian rep, and I had reps in South Australia and Queensland and things like that.
That's very good. You have a question here from Ben Yaka. How long have you been involved with football? So you said obviously that you started with your coaching when you were 24 as a youth worker representative with a lot of younger females looking to sort of get into football. But I guess how has your career progressed since then, and sort of, I guess how long has it taken you in each step of your career?
That was 1995. So I've been involved with the game from then. Obviously,
28 years now.
Yeah, being involved in it there, and then coming here, and I've been here 16 years. So I've been involved in the game here for 16 years on a voluntary capacity, and then obviously working with FFA and doing some coach development stuff. So went and did other courses with them, and continuous professional development with Football West through Football Australia. Going over there and going on coach developer courses so that we can help coach the coaches. So I've been on a few C license courses, done a senior license with some females a few years ago, female only C licenses here in Perth a few years back. Have been on helping coach the C license for a few years now because I'm too busy with school and obviously with community football as well. So we haven't done that in a way, but I do it in school. So I coach our soccer academy students through the mini roos and through the skills certificate, which used to be the old junior certificate. So they're going through that at the minute, the year 9s. So still got a hand in it there through that, but as I say, I haven't done any C licenses in a while because I just don't have the time.
Yeah, fair enough.
At the minute.
Sorry, I forgot to mention as well to the people watching that Miss Schooley is also is it head of the soccer academy at Linwood, or is it?
Yeah, that's
yeah. So head of the female soccer academy at Linwood Senior High School. They've had some very good success in recent years as well.
Yeah, the last few years we've been in the finals.
Yeah.
So the girls' program's come on well. As of the boys, the junior boys were in the Schools Cup final this year. The junior girls.
That was against John Curtin, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was John Curtin. Unfortunately, they lost, but it was a great achievement. So the first time they've been there in a while. The junior girls were in 2 cup finals, or the cup final and the Shield final. The junior girls got to. The senior girls both got to the semis and were unfortunate losses. But yeah, they were only, one of the senior girls team was only year 10 playing against 11s and 12s, so they've done really well to get the semi-final and just got knocked out 3-2. But yeah, we've had a great few years, great successes with the academy, and it's just getting stronger and stronger. You know, and obviously Tony Campbell's with us down there, with Alan Gallick on board, and a new female teacher called Hannah Craven. So she's helping me with the female side of it. So it's coming on really well. The numbers are good. We do need a few more females, year 6, get into year 7 for next year. So, you know, if you know anybody out there that wants to apply for the academy, just get in touch with them with senior high school. That would be great. Females only, and we've got our Super 7s coming up next week.
Oh yeah.
Super
That's
7s.
exciting.
Yeah, next Friday, and last Friday we just did the Education Special Needs Carnival, which is the only one in Perth that our school run for a lot of young primary school special needs schools. I think we had about 200 young people there last week at our school, and our young girls and boys were out there running the event and coaching the kids and refereeing the kids, and it was a great day. They had an absolutely superb day. So yeah, we do a lot of work in the community as well.
As someone who's also been involved with the soccer academy as a player, I can definitely say it's a fantastic experience. I believe I got my coaching and my refereeing license both through the Linwood Soccer Academy, and got countless experience from people like Miss Schooley and Mr. Tony Campbell, as we mentioned as well. I guess another question is, so at Gosnells, you were most recently you still coach the women's teams, and you oversee a lot of women's football at the club, and I'd say around WA as well. How different is it when, as someone who started out coaching women's teams, to then change and coach a boys' team? Is it much of a difference? Is there stuff that you have to sort of deal with that you wouldn't have to deal with the women's team?
Yeah, females are different. I mean, fundamentally, the skills and the game's the same, and the coaching is along the same lines are, but you have other things to deal with. In a lot of females' lives, football's not their number one priority.
Yeah.
Where when you're dealing with a lot of young boys and youth teams, that's it, that's their world.
Yeah.
Where girls are like, oh, something else has come up, so I can't come training today, or I have to go shopping or whatever. And not all of them, but 90% of the time, a lot of the girls have different things on and their priorities are different, or they'll get called into work, so they have to go to work and things like that. So, or their studies, and not saying that boys' studies aren't important as well, but they think, oh, I can't study and play football sometimes, We're trying to show them, yeah, you can study and play football. I've done full degrees, A levels, O levels and everything, and still played and coached and volunteered. So yeah, there is challenges in the female side of the game, but it is very rewarding as well when you see the females doing well, and the Perth Glory side, the Perth Glory women's doing so good, and the NTC programme, and the young Matildas having representation from WA. It's great, and Ben does a great job down there at the NTC with the NTC squad. So, they're coming on, and there are females that are, my number one priority, that's what I want to do, and that's great. And the game's just growing, it's going from strength to strength. as we've seen with the recent World Cup with the Matildas, which was a great experience.
I guess we're touching on that World Cup. As someone who sort of started out their coaching career with I think it's fair to say Northern Irish women's football not having many youth teams or proper youth structures there, from going to that to what we have nowadays, where there's proper academies for females specifically, there's NPL teams, there's whole programs and whatnot, and especially with the increasing demand and viewership of women's sport, as we saw with the recent World Cup, selling out 70, 80,000 seat stadiums to watch women's World Cup games. I guess sort of, did you see that success progressing at this rate that it has, or what do you think has sort of led to that? Do you think there's any defining factors, or do you think it's sort of just the right things happening at the right time?
I think, yeah, all the stars kind of lined up with that, but I think Football Australia, FIFA, and all the teams have done a great job promoting the World Cup, and obviously with the likes of Optus Sport coming on board, the media has really pushed it, and they're seeing now that the demand for football, especially in the UK, whenever the English leagues, the Super League, the Women's Super League over there is so successful, the likes of Arsenal, excuse me, and Sam Kerr and Chelsea, and it has really grown over the last few years, like just at a rate that I don't think anybody expected, really. And the demand for it has been superb, and the hunger for the game. And when we went to Sydney to watch the semi-finals and the final, so there was a bunch of us went across from here. There's heaps of people went across from here, but the whole atmosphere in Sydney was electric. Meeting people from all around the world. There was people, Americans, wearing Matilda's jerseys, going to the games. There was Swedish people everywhere. There was Spanish. It was unreal, the whole atmosphere. The Unity pitch going around the whole of Australia, the World Cup trophy tour, all of that was done really exceptionally well. And I think Australia did a really good job of promoting it, and when I suppose it's along the same par as the Olympics, they did a really good job with that, and they can host events, and you've got the stadiums here to do it. So, it has been fantastic, the whole coverage of it all, and even on, the mainstream TV as well, covering it. It's been an absolute superb World Cup, and I think the legacy's going to live on, and it's just going to grow the game even further. And I think they've already seen that in the Women's Super League with sellout matches, Man United, Arsenal's,
They had the Women's El Clasico, I believe it was last year, Barcelona, Real Madrid. It was the sold-out Camp Nou for a women's match. And that was the first time in history that had happened.
Unreal. It's unreal. The game's just growing at a rate. And I think it all stems from, as well, the Americans pushing for the professional side of things way back when, and then starting way back in the 90s with the Women's World Cup growing from there. I think it's just going from strength to strength, and it's just going to keep growing.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of the words to build on that. So a lot of people in the community, especially around social media platforms, are sort of asking the similar question of, if women's football in this country is progressing at this stage, what's sort of holding men's football back? Why aren't we competing on the world stage as what we are in women's football? Personally, I think a lot of that has to come down to the fact that not a lot of countries are as progressive as Australia is with, pushing for women in sport, for, involvement of women in football in general. But in terms of things that you think we could be doing better, both either in the men or the women's side of the games, what are some things or some changes that I guess you think have to be made to sort of further progress Australia as a footballing nation?
Well, I think we're going along pretty well at the minute, but obviously funding's a big thing in community sport as well, and as well as for the each state organisation, like the likes of Football West, and to get that money that they've got from the government for the State Football Centre has been fantastic. I think that's going to promote the game even more. You've got the Matildas coming here, so growing that, and I think governments need to recognise, this sport, we're the biggest participation sport in the whole of Australia, and let's get on board with that. But then we're competing against, AFL, Rugby League, Rugby Union, all the other sports as you do. But I think the governments are coming around to the fact that, this is the world game. This is a great sport. It's a great sport for females, and just let's get behind it and let's grow it and let's get people involved in it. The health, the well-being, the whole, side of that healthy living and physical activity and promoting all that. That's super to do that with, and people socialising and getting out there, and young girls coming together, young boys getting into teams and just being social and learning how to play a team sport and things like that. I think it's just going to keep going, and hopefully governments will get behind it and realise we've got a lot of potential here, and there's a lot of sponsors out there and people wanting to jump on board with all that. So it's positive.
I guess going back to your sort of more current work, obviously you're very heavily involved with Gosnell City. You have been for the past decade or so. I guess, what is your sort of plans for the future, I guess? Are you, because I'm aware that you weren't coaching at the back end of last season, and for the next season, from what I know, you're planning to take a much more prominent role in, I guess, the management of women's football at Gosnell City. Is that sort of something that you see yourself moving forward to? Do you have sort of higher aspirations, maybe another position somewhere like Football West or Football Australia, or
no,
are you sort of
I'm not going down that road again. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So, and there's other girls out there, and females and males as well. We want to help, getting along the coaching road and coming into the sport as administrators, coaches, referees. We need more referees. So there's a lot of work to be done in that space, promoting that. And I need to step aside and oversee things, I suppose, and promote it more, and try and get, mentor more people in those roles and come through, grow the game in that way rather than being hands-on coaching. I'll probably help out here and there where I can. Anybody wants, Anne, can you come and help us out in these sessions or things like that? That's not an issue. We can go along and do that. But and if people up north want me to come up and see them, and even in the regions, I've been invited up to Karratha and Port Hedland up in that direction with the sports development officer up there. Karen has invited me up to come and do some coaching, so I might go up there and help them out. We'll see what happens over the next wee while. But more of a let other people come into these roles now. We've eventually got round to people doing their qualifications, their C licenses and things like that, their mini roos, their skills certificates. So we need them to get involved and take more of a lead role rather than me being there all the time. So that's what I'm planning to do. And obviously school's going to take a lot of time. We've got 5 teams. I've got 5 teams to run in school, so I need to sort them out as well. That's a priority. So with that in mind, that's sort of what the next sort of foreseeable future holds for the next year or so.
I will just remind everyone in the chat right now, if you do have any questions for Anne here, please do send them in. I'm sure she'll be happy to answer most questions that you guys send in. I guess just sort of 2 questions. I guess it's part of one larger question, but 2 mini questions. And if we have no more questions after that, we might just finish it off.
No worries.
The stream's lagging a bit. Okay, should be all good. So I guess lots of young players out there with social media and everything, a lot of younger kids will have aspirations of being a professional footballer, or some people might get caught up in the sort of wrong way to go about it, maybe focusing too much on one thing when they should be focusing on another. What is sort of your what is your best advice that you could give to a young player, in your opinion?
I think with young players now, a lot of the skills they do practice, technique work, first touch, all that all needs to be there. But one of the biggest things that I think that the players need is a good attitude and commitment, 100% commitment. I don't know if you watched the David Beckham
I haven't got around to watching it yet, but
Yeah, well, it's a good
it's
one.
on, it's on my list. It's on my list.
You know, one of the things that he says, he's had a ball at his feet from he was no age, obviously, practicing in the backyard, but he just loved the game. But his attitude, his commitment to the game, and his never say die, never give up attitude was exceptional, especially when you get through some hard times. So for any footballer, that's probably one of the biggest things. He had a lot of mental strength to go through what he went through, and he's only one example. Obviously, there's hundreds of thousands of footballers out there that go through a lot of things. But yeah, that real, I suppose, commitment to that, attitude to want to win, attitude to want to do better, always practicing, always going harder, always trying to be that, 1% better than anybody else, or if you've got that little X factor, going out there and showing that you have something that nobody else has. He's obviously dead ball specialist, free kick taker, could hit it from anywhere, could put a ball on top of somebody's head. And I'm not going to spoil the documentary for you, but at one point he was taking corners. He went to when he went to MSL.
Yeah.
And he was playing. He was playing for what was the team he played for?
In MLS, in
MLS.
LA.
LA Galaxy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
LA Galaxy.
So he played for Galaxy. So obviously he's playing with players that he hadn't really. He was always used to playing with excellent players. Put the ball in the same place every time. Somebody would attack it. He said when he went out there, he put the ball in, he kept putting it in, nobody was making the runs, so just kept going by. But he had that, because he had that down to a T. But they couldn't obviously read what he was doing, and he was trying to tell them that. But he grew and he learned from that experience as well. But yeah, attitude, commitment, never giving up. Even when he was at Milan and Real Madrid, when they wouldn't play him, and he was training on the outside of the pitch.
Yeah.
He just turned up, he trained, he sat in the box, he sat in the bench. They never played him, but he went there, and the coach felt he went.
I remember.
Get this lad on.
Yeah. I remember. I was a bit young to understand, but I realised it a few years ago. Is they never found out he had asthma his whole life. They didn't find out until he was at AC Milan.
Yeah.
When they caught him using an inhaler.
Yeah.
Like it was known by the coaches and physios or whatever, but that public never knew about it because they caught him until they caught him using an inhaler when he was on the bench. But I guess aside from that, we'll finish off any audience questions if we have them at the end. But sort of last question from me is, obviously we've asked what do you think a player needs, but any aspiring coaches or people that want to get involved in football, maybe directing or being involved at a high level, what do you think is most important? Is it a love for the game? Is it a sort of passion to want to improve the game, or is it sort of something else? Is it a want to succeed, or a want to I don't know, I'm struggling to find the right words.
Yeah. I know what you mean. But yeah, it's like any career. You have to have aspirations and goals and a commitment to what you're doing and a passion for it. I mean, we wouldn't be involved, or I wouldn't be involved in football for 28 years if I hadn't got the passion for it. And the passion to keep going, even when at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning when it's snowing and raining and you go around and you're knocking on people's doors, get kids out of bed, come on with a game, we need to go training, and there's, set up a meeting point, they don't show up. We've had to do that, go round there, ring bells, knock on doors, let's go, trail them up, You're waiting on them coming out with 6 players for a game. We're supposed to be playing a game in an hour, come on, let's go, All that commitment and passion and putting time and effort into it. It's like, as I say, any career, anybody that's successful in a career has to be passionate and committed to what they're doing, and that dedication and giving it 100%, and just not giving up. As I say, even when other people are letting you down, you keep going and you keep trying to keep pushing them and pulling them in and, helping them out and getting them to see what the bigger picture is, and there's other things out there. And even, you're not going to be the next Matilda or Socceroo, but it's good for your health. It's good for your, your socialisation. It's good for your commitment, and it's good to show that you're involved in something and you belong to something. People love to belong to things. They love to belong to the teams, especially successful teams. You know, the women this year at Gosnells they won the league. Our goalkeeper got golden gloves, and yeah, we had some real good wins this season, and it was great for the girls to get that. But they've kept going. Some of them girls have been there from they were 13, you know, and junior leagues they've always been up there or thereabouts, but they've never actually won the league. But this year they've won the league, and they were superb. Their attitude, their commitment to trying to turn up training, and even when there was only 6 of them training at some nights, they still trained.
Yeah,
they didn't give up.
I wasn't able to watch heaps of their games, but the games I did watch, I was genuinely surprised with the attitude. Like when you compare it to some of the attitudes that you get with under 18s or reserves or first teams, sometimes it can be very toxic and sort of that want to win and to succeed. It can sort of like bleed into that relationship or that team environment becomes like very just hostile. But I'm surprised how many times the women's team were put into a tough situation. I never really saw that sort of same hostility. And you know, whether that's just sort of a thing that you get commonly with more women's teams compared to men's teams, I've got to give credit to the women's teams because, you know, that's one of the first teams that I've actually like consistently watched where they felt like a really tight-knit group, like the kind of people that would, you know, genuinely be friends on the pitch and off the pitch as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's got to be a great part of sort of coming up together through the youth ranks and having that sort of tight-knit group as well.
Yeah, because they've had that. The other thing we'll have to give them credit for is their loyalty. Their loyalty to me as a coach, to the club, and staying together and pushing through some really tough times. When we were in State League 1, I think we'd only won 2 games or something out of the whole season, or maybe even only 1 game. But they pushed through. They could have all given up and went, "No, I'm not playing this game anymore."
Yeah.
But they didn't, and they're still playing, and they're in their 20s now. And this was only a few years ago when they were 17, 18. So,
Yeah.
you know, they were young. They were youth team players playing in a women's league, which was a tough league. And, you know, this year they've bore success now out of that, never giving up and keeping coming and keeping going, as I say, even when it was tough, when there's only, you know, 6 of them or 7 of them in training. No, we'll still train, we'll do this, we'll have a few shots, you know, well, fantastic, keep going, girls, you know. Yeah, but it's hard to get a session with 6 people, but they'll say, "Oh no, we'll work on our technique, or we'll work on this," and we've tried really hard on their playing style and really trying to you know, embed that with them and get them to understand the roles and responsibilities. So, you know, it's starting to sink in, and you can see it in their games, and we've videoed a few games so that they can watch it back and they'll look at them. So they've really come on. So fair play, they've had success this year, and it's been great for them. You know, and hopefully they'll build on that next year, get promoted, go up, and slowly move up the leagues.
Absolutely. So we got a couple questions here. Honest opinion on Adrian Stenter. Not too sure who Adrian Stenter is.
Me neither.
Best Australian women's footballer besides Sam Kerr.
I have a soft spot for Mary Fowler.
Mary Fowler, yeah.
I think she's a great talent. Not only that, she's partly Irish.
Oh, fair enough.
So
I expected it with the last name Fowler.
Well, yeah, and so when I got the privilege of being awarded that Coach of Female Comeback Female Footballer of the Year award a few months back, they also sent me a jersey and said, "Well, do you want a name on it?" So they put Fowler on the back and her number 11.
Yeah.
So that was, you know, something special. So I've got that to hold on to as well. So yeah, I think she's a great talent. She's playing for Man City, unfortunately.
Yes, come on, love it.
But
She got a couple of assists in her last game as well. I was
Yeah.
watching, against Bristol, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's one to watch. And Ellie Carpenter's a great wing back. She's a great player as well. So the Matildas have a really good, strong squad. There's a lot of depth in it, and a lot of young Matildas coming through. And as I say, a few of our young Matildas from here are going to be great players as well.
Well, Mary Fowler, there you go. Very high praise from Anne Gooley here, so you better not let her down. that's all the time we've got for this interview. Thank you so much, Anne, for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you.
And hopefully we'll get to interview you at some point again in the future. But thank you for being our very first interview, our very first special guest on the podcast. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And yeah, if you want to know more about Anne, I think you had an article read about you on what was it, Football Australia or something like that?
Some stuff on
for
there.
the 2023 Combat Coach of the Year. So yeah, thank you very much, Anne, and we'll join you guys back very soon in the live stream. Alrighty, thank you. Alrighty, that should be good. Okay, I'll let you out in a few.